in her heart that I was headed for the brick wall. And I remember I didn't want to go, but I went. And that lady that night, I can still see her. And I thought in my heart, I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. And I spent my whole life going, I want to be like that, but I don't think I can be like that. And then it finally hit me. When I clicked on that minute, it was just this little email that we get called A Minute with Maxwell, and that's our leader, John Maxwell. He does a little teaching that's only a minute long, and I clicked it, and it said, become a speaker. And I realized I had always been a speaker, and I always had a story, just like every single person that's listening to this call. You have a story, and if there's anything I want to say to you, I want to say don't ever think that your story is not enough, that your story doesn't have any big parts to it. Maybe you weren't as epic of a failure as I was, and you're thinking, wow, if I had all those stories like Lynne did, I could have a story. But you have a story. Everybody does. And for so long I didn't know I had one. And it was so funny because, not funny, just so like God. This past April, when we go serve, just for people that don't know, we go serve young people all over the world. We teach leadership and confidence and character development in the month of April in our company. In April, I just decided I wanted to give my whole heart. I didn't want to just go through the motions. And so I ended up, I think I had 19 different presentations, but that's not the point. Here's the point. I went back to that school where I stood that day and watched that woman. It hit me in the middle of it. I was standing in the same spot that woman spoke that day. And it didn't even hit me until I looked up after it was over, and the kids were all around us, and they were saying, will you sign our books? Will you sign our books? Wow. And I was like, I have chills right now. I mean, I was just like, God, you are so amazing.
Well, I love that story, and I'm glad that you included the work that you did with the, I'm imagining this is part of the Global Youth Initiative, Lynne. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So you said about this lady in the school, you said things like, well, she had presence, she made me feel, she was beautiful, she connected with the kids, and you said, I want to be just like that. And you also talked about the woman that your mother took you to see when you were in the 6th grade, I think you said, when you were about ready to hit that brick wall. Mm-hmm. And the reason I asked you to be so specific is because I want to just make this point for our listeners as well. You cannot see in other people. You cannot see in other people what you don't have in yourself. In other words, what you were seeing in those two women were qualities and attributes that God has poured into you as well. And for whatever reason, you weren't aware of it at those times, but now you are, right? And you're having the same kind of impact as the people that you thought were so amazing. You are now that amazing person that these young people are just clamoring around. So hallelujah.
Well, thank you for bringing that out, and I never really have even thought about that. I never really thought about that till now, and so that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have such a spirit. You have such a sweet spirit, Lynne, and I know you as a bright light. And I know that you've talked about these dark places. We all have them. But let me tell you something. Your light, because it's the light of God shining through you, overshadows that darkness. It just totally overpowers. So thank you again for sharing that with me and with the folks listening. Lynne, I'm wondering if you have any projects that you're working on. You talked about the Global Youth Initiative, the work that you did in April. You can say more about that, or if there are other projects that you'd like to talk about. I know our listeners would love to hear about some of your work.
Well, I have to constantly reel myself in because I really believe that I can transform the whole world, and I have to really remind myself that I can't and it takes everybody working together. But I can get really excited about a lot of things. Our community is a poverty-stricken area, and so in the summers, a lot of our children, if they're not in school, they don't necessarily eat 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. And so I said, let's start a hunger drive. Well, so we started collecting food, and then this other church had already started a hunger drive, so we joined together, and now they're probably 6 or 7 businesses and churches, and then somebody contacted me. I talked to someone, at the state level, and so that's just something that popped in from an idea. And, we have a lot of good ideas, and they're not all meant for us, but that one was one that was, I was truly passionate about, because I know these kids, and I know that they don't eat a lot of times in the summer. And so that's just one thing, that we're doing in our community. Another thing I'm really passionate about is, whether it's men, women, young or old, I don't really care, but I want to get this message out that it's never too late, and that it's okay. It's not that you're starting over. You're just continuing where you are, but it's never too late to go and do and become who you were created to become. And I see so much mediocrity. I see so many people just settling for less, for whatever reason. And so I'm going to spend the rest of my life just pouring into people. And it really doesn't matter if it's someone in the marketplace or someone in my church or someone in my business that I'm serving. I really honestly try to treat everybody equal. And wherever I am, I try to leave it brighter than when I found it. And some days I do better than others. And I'll be honest, just to make sure y'all understand who Lynne Brown is, the other day when I was taking the food buckets to these places, these collection sites, there was a man. I was very aware of this man on the outside of the building, and he had a backpack, and he actually opened the door for me, and for me to take this food, these huge buckets in, and take this food in. And I got in my car and left, and I thought, wait a minute, you just missed an opportunity, because I have a feeling that man was just walking through town, and on my sign it says, hunger has a face. And that day I walked right by a face, So, again, I just say that to let everybody know that we're all a mess, but we all have a masterpiece, too, inside of us. And so we just have to be who we are. And I think that's the message that I learned just from experiencing that feeling of I wanted to be like those women. And finally I decided and realized I just needed to be me, that I was enough and I was never too much. So now I'm just being Lynne, and it's really exciting. It's all new.
Oh, my goodness. So many great nuggets. Thank you, Lynne. Thank you for being my guest today. Now, if you'd like to learn more about Lynne Brown and her work, you can check out her website. And her website is www.johncmaxwellgroup.com/Lynne Brown. That's www.johncmaxwellgroup.com/Lynne Brown. I'm going to spell that out. That's www.john, the letter C, MAXWELLGROUP.com/Lynne, LYNNE, Brown, BROWN. www.johncmaxwellgroup.com/Lynne Brown. And remember, Lynne has 2 N's and 1 E, LYNNE, BROWN. Now, if you missed any part of this week's show about personal leadership, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, or you can catch me on Alexa, or right here on Talk Network Radio. Before I close today's show, I just want to give a shout out to all the folks listening in all around the world. Now more than ever, now more than ever, you know what? The world needs you. We need your voice. And I want to encourage you to bring it. Because if you don't, we will miss out on all that you have to offer. We'll miss out on the gifts that you have, that only you have, that are uniquely yours to share with the world. You know, it's truly amazing how much impact one person can have when we lift our own voices, especially when we do so with passion and compassion, generosity and integrity, and when we respect the birthright dignity of ourselves and each other. Now, I want to encourage you to share the wealth. If you enjoy listening to my podcast, do me a favor and tell somebody. That's how you pass it on. That's how we spread the love. That's how we can all make a difference, one person at a time, one team at a time, one class at a time, inch by inch, mile by mile, and smile by smile at home, at work, in our communities, and in any area of our lives, every single day, 365, 24/7. Remember this, how you live is how you lead. In fact, it's how you do everything, right? Now, if you happen to miss any part of this week's show or last week's show, you can listen to a podcast anytime. You can listen to it at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Check us out, Legacy Living with Dr. Gloria Burgess. Check us out on iTunes or Alexa or on talknetworkradio.com/Legacy Living. Okay? That's www.talknetworkradio.com/Legacy Living. TalkNetworkradio.com/Legacy Living, all smushed together, and that's LEGACYLIVING. Now, some people wonder, why does she spell out something that I know how to figure out on my own, right? Well, again, we have people listening all over the world, and sometimes I talk a little bit fast, or to other ears I might have an accent, and so that's why I take the time to spell it out, okay? Now, before I close today's show, I want to thank each of you for tuning in today, for allowing me to share a little bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. You know what? It's not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. It's all about being on purpose every single day, 365, 24/7. Legacy living is one of the many ways to make your life count. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me for today's show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, and this has been Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Please join me again next week right here on Talk Network Radio for another show of Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. We're here again next Wednesday, 10 a.m., right here, Talk Network Radio. Don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Have a fantastic day, and remember, make the days in your life count. God bless you. That's our show today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. I hope you'll join me again next week. Until then, don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Here's to you. Have a fantastic day. Be sure to make it a yes kind of day. And remember, celebrate. Celebrate the music of your life. Make